Say it again.
Talk to me, baby. Háblame de seguros.
I'm Vera Igni.
Y yo, Itzel Greenhack, y juntas somos
Talk Insurance to Me.
Thank you, Cynthia, for being here today. This is Talk Insurance to Me. And as you know, and as some of our viewers now know, that we decided to create this platform to give, really to put a spotlight on amazing California insurance pros. We wanted to spotlight people that, you know, other individuals know that have made a mark, that have been in it a long time, so they can give us a lot of their input. So thank you for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Humbled to be here. So I'm Cynthia Riley. I've been in the industry for a little while. So I'll tell you what how my whole career got started. I came to San Diego to go to college. Most of my father's side of the family is in San Diego. I've always loved San Diego. And my aunt actually works at an insurance agency. So she got me started. I filed papers, not to age myself or anything, but so I started off filing some paperwork, became a receptionist / secretary assistant, started studying for my license, became an agent, office manager, so on. And it just continued to grow from there until I landed my territory manager role, which is my favorite. I absolutely love what I do. So I've been in many roles throughout my career.
Before we dive into that, I want to ask you, think of it almost as like speed rounds, like speed dating questions. Okay. And I love to just kind of like get to know you a little bit more. So first one, Brad Pitt or Matthew McConaughey?
Oh, Matthew McConaughey.
Right? I know.
Oh.
Okay. Ice cold beer or a glass of red wine?
Ice cold beer.
Nice. Broker fees or no broker fees?
No broker fees.
All right. And we'll get into like why and all that a little later, because that's interesting. Cat or dog?
Dog. I'm allergic to cats. No offense against the cats.
Me too. Itzel has both, right?
Yes, I have both.
Yeah, I start to, throat close up, eyes start to water. I'm a mess.
Oh, wow. Yours is extreme. I break out in hives, but it's not as bad. Your daughter's also allergic, right, Itzel?
Yes, my daughter is actually allergic to cats and dogs, but she loves them, and she's just, she cannot live without her cat or her dog. So,
my gosh.
That's how my husband is. Okay. And then last one, a romantic getaway in Italy or an adventurous trip to Antarctica?
Italy.
Yeah. Right? I was like, Antarctica. I've always wanted to go there.
I don't do well in the cold. Absolutely not. So I'd rather be hot than cold.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But in the same tone or the same kind of line of question, do you like more city type of trips or more adventures, kind of like nature type of trips?
Well, so I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say both. When the kids were younger, we enjoyed doing the whole camping experience, and that was a lot of fun. But I'll tell you, just recently in 2019, we had the opportunity to go to Italy, and we were there for almost a month, and it was just amazing. And so I loved every day, every moment that we were there. And that's why I'd say, it's a little bit of both. You want that to have that outdoor nature type of stuff, but at the same time, going into the cities and walking around and seeing the life, like people watching is the best thing, right? So I'm going to have to say both. I know that's a little cheating, but it's going to have to be both.
Oh, you can go hiking in Italy, it's still Italy.
Yeah, of course you can. Cinque Terre, you can go through every single, hike to every single little city. It's great.
Yeah, I've been dying to go there. Well,
that's going to be
a whole discussion about Italy in another
bucket list item for sure.
You kind of already sprinkled a little bit about how you got into insurance, and I'd love to know how you ended up in your territory role position.
Okay, so I'll kind of skip the first part, right? But once I started getting into the insurance and quoting and doing all that, I thought, I'd love to be my own business owner, right? Let's give this a shot. I think I can do it. I chose the route of going a franchise route. And unfortunately, that franchise route didn't work, right? So 18 months into it, it all went down the toilet. But it gave me a great deal of appreciation for, those entrepreneurs who go out and start their agencies from scratch, the work, the dedication, the hours. So I did learn a lot from that experience. Unfortunately, though, right, it didn't go the path that I had desired. But because of that, at the time when the agency was failing, I had to make a decision, right? Do I go back and work in the agency, as a producer or an office manager, or do I go and try to work on the carrier side of the house? And, when I was an office manager, I got visited by the reps and I got the training, and I thought, man, I can totally do that. And so at that point in my life, when my business was failing and it was really sad, I thought, I'm going to try something different. And luckily, the territory manager of the franchise I was in was aware of an opening for San Diego County, which is where I lived at the time. And she gave me the lead and I pursued it. And, that company gave me my chance. So it's been great. That was back in 2007 and I haven't looked back.
I did not know that about you. And we've pretty much been in the same, we've known each other for a while. I had no idea that was the background. That's so cool. I think I know what company it was, but I won't say, but if I recall correctly, I wrote it when I was an agent.
Yes, you did. That's right.
Very cool.
And that's where we met.
That's where we met. Exactly.
That's right.
And that's also a whole nother story. Let's leave that one
Okay.
for some ice cold beers.
Right. There you go.
So do you think the experience of being in the insurance industry is different from a man versus a woman? I mean, you actually had both experiences, being a business owner and also being a territory manager. So what is the difference? You think there's any difference between a man and a woman in both?
I am certain there is a difference in both. I will say, however, my experience so far in the industry has been very positive. If I look through all the years that I've been doing this, remember my aunt was the one who started me in, right? She said, "Hey, come on over here and start working here." So the first positive influence was a female, right? I'll say between that time and the time I became a territory manager, I was an assistant for a male dominated agency. And, you got to see the treatment was a little bit different. But then when I became a territory manager, I was hired by a woman. She was the VP of sales for this company. And so it was a very positive female mentor, right? In fact, the lady who gave me the lead, female, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it's been not so much of a struggle because of the gender. I've been lucky enough to just have female mentor after mentor after mentor. And even today, where I'm at today, our VP of sales is a female, and that's just great to see. So although I do believe there are different experiences, mine, I got to say, has been very positive with a lot of female influences.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
It's great. It's great to see strong, educated women. And like I said, it's been sprinkled throughout my whole entire career. And you go, that's who I want to continue to aspire to be, right?
Right. Wow, that's really cool. Have you had any interaction where you felt that same kind of inspiration from like a male mentor or a male counterpart or colleague?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. There are, for a little period of time, I had to work with our team was all women. And that was pretty awesome because we were like, yes, girl power, we can do this and everything. That was really cool. But when you are able to bring in the male perspective, it does change things up a little bit. And I got to tell you, it makes you a little bit more competitive even sometimes, right? Because you're like, oh, okay, all right, that's good. I can do that too. So I think it brings in a good, competition in there. So it just pushes you a little bit more, but absolutely. I think we can learn from everybody.
That's really a very interesting point because I'm really big on inclusivity And I think we need to highlight female, we need to recognize females that have really paved the path for so many of us, especially in this industry, without obviously kicking out the fact that men exist. And it is
Right.
about inclusivity. And you make a really good point. It's just one of those give and take and I guess healthy competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about
Yeah.
the balance in both genders, and everybody can contribute to the team. And yeah, I feel like a female, we have another way to approach the things, but also the male have, like this vision and going, it's all about the goal, while the woman is a little bit more about the process. So
Right.
when
Yeah.
those are combined, that's when, you make the company, the team, and everything great. So thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So the question that I'm really curious about, because it comes up a lot, I've been on the preferred side, I've been on the non-standard side, I've been on all the sides. There does seem to be a stigma, right? Preferred versus non-standard. What's your take on it? What do you think about that? How do you think it actually makes agents feel also when they get kind of pigeonholed in one or the other?
I'll tell you. So for most of my experience, it's been on the preferred side. Even in the agency, when I worked at the agency, it was all preferred. And in fact, when I first started, they kind of wrote anything that came through the door, they would write it, right? And then I moved to another agency, and I remember vividly a customer coming in and asking for a quote, but they needed an SR22. And the agency owner said, "I'm sorry, we just don't have any carriers for you." And I was floored. And I thought, what are you doing? You're giving away this business. And he said, "But that's not my business model."
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think either one of them is better than the other. Everyone has a purpose, right? And has customers to serve. So I think it's a little unfair that they are looked at differently, but the models are completely different, right? The focus is different. The training is a little different. But they each give the same amount of work, I think, right?
Mhm.
To make their business successful. But yes, I've worked for preferred markets and preferred carriers for almost most of my career. I had a little bit of experience with a non-standard carrier, and that's where I learned more, the bigger difference between the two. I appreciate it a bit better because I had not ever walked into a non-standard office to do training or to do anything really, right? All of my experience has been mostly on the preferred side. But when you see the accounting that goes into place, when you see the scheduling that goes into place, when you see how they're monitored and things like that, you learn a different appreciation for what you didn't know was going on, right? And then you look at the agency owner and you think, this is your business model. This is what you've chose to do. You're going to be successful in that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So let's go. How do we make you be more successful? Now, I think the focuses are a little different. I think a preferred agency focus is more long-term profitable growth.
Mhm.
And I think on a non-standard agency side, it's more quantity, right? And that's just on my short experience with non-standard. Not that it's wrong, it's just a completely different business model. And I think that, we all have to appreciate this is what they do over here, and this is what this agency does over here. And I would say even on the preferred side, each preferred agency is different from one another in how they want to grow, how they want to train their agents. So we just have to recognize that and appreciate that. And then, if the carrier appointment works for that agency, let's go for it.
That's well said. I mean, very well said. Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
And you mentioned something about, having different ways to do stuff, and there's no good or wrong, and being successful. So, going into that roundabout, and how you will define success for you. What success is for you? Your definition of success.
Success for me would be that at the end of the day, I am comfortable with what I gave, how I participated, and I can sleep well at night, right? I do my work ethically. I believe that part of my job is to help an agency be successful. And if I can accomplish that or I attribute it to that, then I think that that was a successful day, right? I don't think success is measured by necessarily, I don't know, awards or how many emails I got done in a day or things like that. It's more of, I turn off my computer at night and I feel good about what I did that day and I'm ready to pursue the next day. I think that's a successful day.
That sounds good to me. I like that. Yeah. And I really believe that it's like occasionally you have to audit yourself too, to say like, did I really give it my all today? Right.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I love that I didn't once hear you say having millions in the bank and all this stuff,
Yeah.
because all of that comes after you feel good inside, right? Everything will fall into place. if
Yep.
you're doing
I mean,
it
I
well.
got to say that I love what I do every day. And let's face it, being real, right? Every day isn't perfect, and some days are harder than others, and some days are more busy work than others, and other days it's a little bit more relaxed where you can go, okay, all right, let me focus a little, let me spend a little bit more time here. But I love what I do, and I think that too is a measure of success, right? Do you love what you do?
Absolutely.
You enjoy it every day? I think one of the best parts of our industry is that it's never boring.
Mhm.
And there's always, I'm sure you guys get this sometimes too, where somebody calls you and says, can we write 5 horses, 3 pigs, 2 chickens on 5 acres? And you're like, okay. Something odd, right? It's an
No.
odd question.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you go, oh,
You're like,
But-
why don't you call Lloyd's of London? Because I'm sure they can put something together
know?
for you.
but or a coverage question. They bring you
Right.
this coverage question and you're like, oh, that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one. Hold on a second. So for me, I think that that's one of the best parts of our industry is it's changing and evolving, and we have to continue to learn with that as well. And I think that's one of the things that keeps us excited, keeps us going. It's never the same every single day. There's always something to learn here.
Agents really do teach us something new almost every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I
right.
used to work, I used to work for a non-standard company as a rep that no longer exists. And the one thing that our VP always told us, if an agent calls you and they're like, well, what if this is, just say no, because it's just a scenario that's going to get out of control. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that's true. And Itzan, what is that thing that you told me when an agent is really, or, really anyone in business that wants to sell something or maybe write a policy regardless of the risk? What is it about stink or something like that?
Oh, I said, don't let the perfume of the premium cover the stink of the risk.
Isn't that brilliant?
I like it. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good and it's so true.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've all heard everything under the sun. So thanks for sharing that. That's hilarious. So speaking of agents, do you think that they pay close enough attention to what's going on around them in terms of regulation, in terms of really becoming more active with what the Department of Insurance does? And if they don't, should they be more better participants in that?
I think that there's going to be a mix, right? I think some agencies do, and they are more active in maybe other associations, or they attend classes, or they're just reading, right? Reading the stuff that's out there available. I think that they should, absolutely, because at the end of the day, those regulations and things that come down from the Department of Insurance will eventually impact their business. However, I think that they could also look to resources, right, to get that information. They don't have to be looking at the Department of Insurance website every day just to see what the latest and greatest is, because it might not always apply to them. But I think that they should be open to their resources, or at least know what those resources are to get that information. Carriers are a good resource. Associations are a good resource, right? So they can become educated and just knowledgeable about what's happening. But yeah, I think it's important that they do know that. I mean, right now, I think, there's a lot of talk at the Department of Insurance level about homes and fire exposure and things like that. That's going to impact every single personal insurance, whether you're preferred or non-standard. It's going to impact your book of business some way or another, depending on what develops from that. So it is absolutely important to know, maybe not every single detail, but at least know sort of the motion and what's going on there, for sure.
Agree. And I think lately the Department of Insurance has put a lot of virtual
Yeah.
town
Mhm.
halls
Right.
up. I might have to edit that part. So, and I just find that there are a good number of agents that go on there, but it's still very low for the
Yeah.
amount of agents we have in California.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't, I feel like I always knock on the DOI. It's not that I'm trying to do that, but I don't think that they are making, or maybe they don't have the marketing budget for it, for a proper campaign to inform agents,
Yeah.
brokers about what's going on, right?
Well,
And potentially
the
that's what it
I
is.
was gonna say the other thing too is I've seen that too, and I applaud them for doing that, right? Because I don't think it's something that they've done in the past. So I think it's good that they've started to do the virtual town halls and they're doing more live streaming and stuff like that. But you don't know unless you happen to be scrolling that
Mhm.
particular date and time, exactly that moment that they're
Right.
live streaming. So maybe they can do a little bit better in putting it out there that it's going to be there's going to be this live virtual town hall or whatnot. um, I know I've subscribed to their newsletter. They have a newsletter that they do, and I think that's a good way of getting some information. At least you can glance at it and see, is this something I really want to read that's going to impact me, or is this something that I can just kind of push to the side for right now? But you're right. I don't think they do maybe enough to say, hey, agents, here are all these resources for you. Why don't you log on to here, or why don't you? And the Department of Insurance, they have addresses and phone numbers and emails because we all pay, right? So
Well,
they
they
can,
do come after you when you have to pay your fees, though.
right?
Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. But at
Yeah,
least they're trying, and I think that that's good,
I agree.
right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, since both of you are on the carrier side, I come from the vendor side, right, and the association side. So I know that it's even from the insure tech side, it's not like it's our job to tell agents what's going on, but we do so anyway because and there's boards that get together, especially about data and how important it is. And the association side, it is technically the job to do that. But from the carrier side, for you two, do you think it is a responsibility that the carrier should take on, or do you find it more so an individual responsibility that you decide to take on to inform your agents?
I will say it's individual. I will say that it's individual because at the end of, I mean, the reason we are doing this and the reason I try the agents to get more involved is because I see a benefit for them to be more successful, for me, to be more informed of the things that are going to affect them. Maybe they are things that like the fires are not going to affect them right away, especially the type of site I am now, but it's going to affect them in the future. Like Cynthia said, it's going to affect everybody at some point. So it is more it's the career responsibility too, because it is good to have informed agents.
Mm-hmm.
It's my responsibility because I like to have good informed agents and I want to have that benefit, but it's also the ultimate decision of the agent to be informing the industry they are participating in.
Sure, they have to have a vested interest, right, in wanting to know what's going on in the industry that they are having a business in. But I also think it's beneficial for everybody in the agency, whether you're a carrier, an agent, an agency owner, to understand what's going on and be informed of what's happening, because at every level it will impact that agency, right? Whether it's the CSR taking the phone call wondering why their policy was non-renewed because of wildfire, she has to be able to explain what that's going on there. Or whether it's the agency owner who now has to decide what carrier I need to have in my agency that can successfully write this book of business where I'm marketing, right? So everybody at every level has to know. And then on the carrier side, I mean, if the carrier decides to do something different or is required or asked to do something different, right, because of what came out of some of these virtual town halls and a decision that Department of Insurance made, then we have to be able to explain that to our agents so they can explain it then to the insured, right? So at every level, we all have to be informed of what's going on within our industry.
I agree. Thank you for that.
So,
Down at the questions because go ahead, sorry.
so in your experience as a rep, Cynthia, are there certain habits that successful agents have?
So every single agency is going to say that their leads come from referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's good. But I will say that the ones that are most successful are the ones that are asking for a referral at every single moment, at every single opportunity, every single sale, and they have an actual referral process in place, right? It's one thing to say, I get referrals and that's how I run my business. That's really good. But those that have a referral program in place, I think are the ones that are more successful with that. So it's the follow through, it's the process, it's the procedure. If you have that in place, then absolutely that's going to work for you. So it's having that process in place that makes an agency, I think, the most successful agencies is where I see that.
Awesome. That is like a perfect post. I'm gonna take that little clip. Yeah, that was so good. Yeah, thank you. And because it is interesting how you can kind of see a common denominator, right, amongst successful agencies. And just going off of that, what do you think are some best practices that agencies have for hiring the right people? This is kind of like a question that I just thought of right now. Like, do you also see something that they commonly do as to, like, do they hire newbies and they just train them on insurance? Do they prefer having an experienced individual? What are some like best practices that successful agencies with low turnover do?
So I would say too, I mean, if an agency is going to hire a complete newbie to the industry, they have to have the time to be able to invest in that person. I don't see anything wrong with that, right? Because I mean, that's how I started. I was completely newbie into the industry, had no intention on pursuing this industry nor staying in it as long as I have, right? But there was
Yeah.
time. I mean, come on, nobody plans to be an insurance agent. We all just kind of land here, okay? Right? So, but they gave me the time to, you know, teach me and tell me, and they gave me the finances to be able to go. They invested in me to say, okay, go to school and do this. So if you're going to hire a newbie, you want to have that long-term, you know, time to dedicate to them. Now, if you're a busy shop and you need somebody to start, you know, working for you, acting for you, selling for you right away, then yeah, you got to get somebody who's experienced on there. I do see a lot of turnover in some offices. And I think it just depends on what their expectation is of that employee and how quickly they want them to learn to determine where they're going to hire from, right? If you want something that's going to be quick, then you want somebody who has experience already. Otherwise, you go for a newbie and you train them and take the risk of them sticking with you or leaving for something else, right? But it's always risky. Either way, it's always risky.
Yeah.
I try to tell, you know, I try to tell my agents to really define what you want, understand, you know, how much time you have to invest in this person, and then look at your different job boards that are out there, right? If they want newbies, I usually tell them, why don't you go to one of the insurance schools? They all have job posting boards. You post a thing there. You get somebody who's eager, who's just freshly licensed. They're going to want to reach out to an agency and get started. That might be a good lead source. So it's, you know, I try to just maybe guide them to some of those areas where they might find that diamond in the rough, but that ultimately it's their investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that? Because I know that I have a lot of agents that I constantly get asked like, hey, Vera, if you know anyone, especially a commercial agent, I'm like, dude, commercial agents are hard to come by because once they're in somewhere, they usually write it out for years, right? Or you have that random one that just jumps around every 3 years because I think they also, in my opinion, they're kind of aching to open up their own shop, but they can't do it yet. So they're just learning what they can. But what do you think about that? Like, what do you think are some best practices from your side?
Well, I actually, I completely agree with what Cynthia said. And I actually would like to highlight of the 3 things that I was actually mesmerized. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. The first thing is investing in your employees. The second thing, you know, the education. And the other thing that I really like is to decide what your investment is going to be on that new person. And also decide what type of person you want, because, you know, some people says, okay, I need an agent. Okay, but what type of agent? You know, have a process. and decide exactly what are you going to delegate to that agent so you can maybe focus on this. So again, having a more clear idea of your business and what person you need exactly, what type of person, getting more definition. And the other one is take a risk. I mean, I see so many agents not investing in their employees or not doing certain things because they are afraid they are going to leave them, or they are afraid it's just this is not the industry to be afraid. Everything we handle with risk at all levels.
That's so true. It's the risky industry.
Oh, take a risk. You said that you loved your job, which is amazing. Yeah, we do have a pretty cool job. What is what you like the most about working with agents, and what is what you like the most about the insurance industry in general?
So the most that I like about my job is being able to go into an agency and, challenge them a little bit about the knowledge of the product of the carrier I'm representing, and then teach them more on that, right? Teach them why you can write more, or how to better build your book. That's the best for me. And when I walk away after a training session and I feel good, like my agents are like, oh, okay, I didn't know we can do that. And they get successful and they start to churn business. That's awesome. That's probably one of my favorite things. One of my favorite things is helping that agency discover a way to write business with my company. That's it right there. But overall, in general, I think I mentioned it a little bit early, in general in the industry, again, I think it's for us is that it continues to evolve. We continue to find different risks, different building materials, different exposures that we have to address, and which keeps us continually learning. And I think that that's what I like overall in the industry, right? I've always been in personal lines. I've never done anything else. And I know commercial is a completely different beast, right? And yeah. I can't imagine what all I don't know yet on that commercial side or the life and health side. There's so many different tiers in the industry that it's like, you don't just have to sell insurance, right? There's this commercial whole different world out here. There's life, there's so many levels of it. It's a great industry to be in, I think.
Yes.
I agree. There's a lot of opportunity in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so. So just one last takeaway. If you could give one piece of advice that helped you in your professional and personal life, what would it be? What would you tell somebody that's kind of deciding, like, do I want to get into insurance? What do I want to do with myself? Usually the youngins are also a little confused. Like, imagine your kids that's trying to figure out what to do with their lives after college. What would you tell them? What helped you?
Well, I mean, there's a lot in there, right? I don't think I can narrow it down to just one thing. I will say, if I have to say anything, regardless of what career you're in, I would say is don't feel afraid to ask for help. I think that we're never going to know everything. There's always going to be somebody who can maybe do something better, right? Have a better idea, have a better way, or have just more experience in general, right? So don't be afraid to ask for help, regardless of where you are, what industry you're in. So many resources are out there. And I think that a lot of us sometimes are afraid to ask a question for fear that we may come across as, you should have known that. I can't believe you don't know that. But then that just means you didn't ask the right person. Go find somebody else that's going to help you, right? But as far as the industry itself, I mean, again, as we were saying, that there's so many places to go within this industry. I think it's more of, know your personality and where you're going to strive. Do you like to talk to people and, have them discover what their assets are and how to further protect them? Then you want to go and be in sales, right? Are you analytical and you want to dot all the I's and cross all the T's? And maybe you got to go be an underwriter and actuary. Do you like math? Go this way. So, I know, me neither, right? Like, where's my calculator? Hold on a second. So I think really most importantly, I think if anything, we would want to tell our young people to look at themselves. What do you like the best? And kind of pursue that, right? I have a son, he's 15, and he right now, he doesn't know. He literally doesn't know. And he's still a little young, but at the same time, not that young to not start to maybe have some idea of what you want. And so my husband and I, we talk to him and we say, you just got to find what drives you, what interests you, what excites you. What do you see that's exciting? And I think that for him, that's a deep question, almost for anybody, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, but I think until you know what that is, it's going to be hard, right? To find that perfect career. You got to kind of play around a little bit in it. So I
It's
don't know if
beautiful
that
that-
answered your question or
It
you got what
did.
you wanted
It
from
did.
that.
did.
but-
More than it was. It's beautiful that you even have that conversation with your children. It's really
Yeah.
nice to hear. Yeah. It's
You know,
very
so I have two kids. My daughter is 18 and my son is 15. And she has known from very young that she wanted to be in education. And she's known that forever, not changed her mind, and that's what she's studying to do. So, right, she knew immediately what she wanted. And then, so she was easy. But you have my, we have our son, and he's just so uncertain. It's different. It's just each child is so different, and so the conversations are really different. With my daughter, you're like, "Are you sure that's what you want to do? You're sure? You're 100%." Like we challenged her a little bit, and she uses yes, yes, yes. And with my son, we're like, "What do you like? Do you like science? Do you like math? Do you like?" Do you like, So with him, it's a little bit different how that conversation's going.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And you know what? Since you are talking about motherhood, I love that because, I see a lot of our agents, a lot of our actually territory managers like us that, I do a struggle sometimes between being a mom and being a career woman and I finally come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to be able to have it all. Like they told me and, all my feminist ideas of, women can have it all, especially in the United States. I came here from Mexico and I'm like, you know what? That's not true. And I'm okay with it. So what will be your advice on that? Or what is your take on that specific topic of career, woman, insurance? And if you have any advice or something that you have discovered that have helped you as a mom.
So, so over the years, I've always worked and I've had my kids, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And I will say that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to, like you said, to be everything to everybody. We just put so much pressure. And I'll tell you, when my kids were young, I was working and I'd come home and I'd cook this meal and wash the dishes and clean up, and you know what I'm saying? And one
I'm like,
day,
no.
yeah, okay, one day I kind of lost it, and I was just mad at every toy on the ground, at everything. And my husband finally said to me, "I don't care if you use a paper plate. Just, as long as we're eating, you know." And I kind of looked back and I thought, really? I can use paper plates and just throw them in the trash and not have to do any dishes? You're good with that? And he was like, yeah. So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Now, I'm not going to say, everybody's okay with the paper plate thing, right? But for me, that was my aha moment to go, okay, no one's expecting my house to be spotless but myself. And as soon as I took that kind of off me, my house is a total disaster. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I'm like, let's never go to Cynthia's house.
But as soon as I took that pressure off me, you can feel less tension in the home. Okay. Now you want to instill in your children and you want to instill, hey, let's clean up and let's do this. But it wasn't like I was, hey, every single day, pick up your toys. And so it's just realizing that at that moment, I got to take some of this pressure off. No one's demanding this of me. I think it's expected and therefore I have to do it. Right? Now, even so, and I don't want this to come across incorrect, but, I am Hispanic. My parents are Hispanic, my whole family, right? And my husband is too. His father's Irish. That's where we get the Riley from. But, I think that as Latinas, we have, again, this expectation that we have to cook and we have to clean. And I was raised like that. So I kind of accept it and I know what my responsibilities are. But I also know that at the end of the day, if I am tired and I order a pizza, no one's going to die. They're going to eat the pizza and we're going to go to sleep happy people. So it's just that mental thing, right? Take it away. If at the end of the day, you know, your kids are fed, the husband's fed, you're fed, take a shower, put your feet up. Okay, enjoy the moment. But it's hard to get there. It's not easy. It's hard to get there. But as soon as you can get there, everything else will kind of fall into place. You feel so much more at peace with things. So that one day, I'm gonna take it back to that one day where my husband was like, I don't care if we eat off paper plates. That was the moment for me to say, all right, I am not picking up Legos today.
I love that.
Awesome.
And I love that you said that expectation is so true. We impose these expectations that we think others have of us when they could care less. They're like, the world does not revolve around you. Yeah, it's really, wow. That was crystal clear. And I hope that so many people, especially women, hear that, and women that come from cultures where you're expected to take care of the household. So thank you for sharing that. That was very inspirational.
I got to say, since we're talking a little bit about husbands and things, I think it's important to have a good support system, right? And for me, that is my husband. He's always been very supportive of my career, the chances that I'm willing to take. And I think that without him, I probably wouldn't really be where I am today, because I'd probably be afraid to have taken the chances that I did take. So I think it's really important for anybody, but especially for a female, to have a supportive partner, right? That's going to encourage you, support your decisions, and even just push you a little bit, right? To take that risk, to take that extra class, or to take that interview. So, you know, he's my support, and I appreciate that very much.
Oh, that's so lovely. And yes, that's you just nailed it there. Yeah, you also need to have a great support system. It can be your family, your partner, your friends, and yeah, that was beautiful. I actually feel super grateful. I feel like most of my the reason I'm not having a huge nervous breakdown is because of my husband. He's 100% support. And he actually cooked breakfast today for the kids. I'm like, okay, don't bother me. I'm going to be very busy. And he's like, okay, we will order pizza. There's cereal for breakfast.
There you go. That's right. Yeah.
That's great. Wow, Cynthia, this has been so fantastic. Thank you so much. You know, to those of you that actually come on here, to you in the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being open and willing to share your story. And, you know, and we did get a little personal, and that's always so important, because we're humans. Insurance is what we do. It's our tool for buying groceries, right? The means to the end, but we're human beings. And that's really what ultimately we want to hear about. And yeah, paper plates are cool, man.
Yes, they are. That's right. Well, thanks, ladies. I appreciate it. See you later. Have a good day.
Great day.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
If you want to learn more, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram as @TalkInsurance2Me.
Let us know if you have a topic that you'd like to hear about.
I'm Itzel.
I'm Vera.
We'll see you next time.